Welcome to the 16th episode of the Reality Transurfing Fundamentals Series. Today we're exploring one of the most profound yet practical laws of the transurfing model, the Boomerang Principle, which reveals why your thoughts always return to you. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast canyon, the kind that stretches so far into the distance that you can't quite see where it ends. The morning air is crisp and still, and as you lean forward slightly, you cup your hands around your mouth and shout a single word into the void. For a moment, there's nothing but silence. Then, floating back across the chasm, comes your own voice. Perhaps distorted, perhaps multiplied, but unmistakably yours. This echo isn't just sound waves bouncing off rock walls. It's a perfect metaphor for how reality itself operates. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every intention you hold. These aren't just internal experiences that vanish into nothingness. They're energetic projections that radiate outward into the fabric of reality itself. And just like that echo returning from the canyon walls, these projections always find their way back to you. Sometimes they return quickly, sometimes after such a long delay that you've forgotten what you originally sent out. But they always return. This isn't simply a poetic metaphor or a comforting philosophy. It's a practical law that shapes your life every single day, whether you're aware of it or not. The beauty and the challenge of this principle lie in its absolute impartiality. Reality doesn't judge whether your thoughts are good or bad, positive or negative, constructive or destructive. It simply reflects them back to you with mathematical precision. When you truly grasp this principle, you begin to understand that you're not just a passive observer of your life circumstances. You're an active participant in their creation, thought by thought, moment by moment. Reality transurfing teaches us that the world around us functions as a mirror, but not in the simple way we might first imagine. This isn't just about seeing your physical reflection or observing the immediate consequences of your actions. The mirror of reality goes much deeper. It reflects your inner state, your deeply held beliefs, your habitual attitudes, your emotional patterns, and especially the quality of emotional energy you consistently emit. Think about how a mirror works in your bathroom. It doesn't choose what to reflect. It doesn't decide to show you looking better on days when you're happy or worse on days when you're sad. It simply shows what's there. The world mirror operates on the same principle, but instead of reflecting your physical appearance, it reflects the energetic signature of your inner world. When you send out thoughts of love, appreciation, and gratitude, when you genuinely feel these emotions and let them color your perception of the world, the mirror of reality has no choice but to reflect these qualities back to you. You'll find yourself encountering more situations that inspire love, more reasons to feel appreciative, more circumstances that evoke gratitude. It's not magic or wishful thinking. It's the mechanical operation of a universal principle. Conversely, when you send out irritation, resentment, criticism, or negativity, these too are faithfully reflected back. Often they return amplified, as if the mirror has a magnifying quality that intensifies whatever you project onto it. This amplification happens because negative emotions tend to carry more energetic charge. When you're angry, frustrated, or fearful, you're not just having a casual thought, you're emitting a powerful energetic signal that reality cannot ignore. This is the essence of the Boomerang Principle. Whatever thoughts you send out into the world, they will return to you like a boomerang thrown with perfect aim. The boomerang doesn't care about your intentions when you threw it. It doesn't consider whether you meant to throw it or whether you now regret throwing it. It simply follows the laws of physics and returns to its point of origin. The implications of this principle are staggering when you really think about them. If you focus consistently on what you dislike or fear, if you spend your mental energy dwelling on problems, inadequacies, and potential disasters, you're essentially placing an order with the universe for more of the same. The mirror of the world, in its perfect neutrality, will reflect these focuses back as your lived experience. You'll encounter more problems, notice more inadequacies, and find your fears materializing in various forms. On the other hand, if you train yourself to focus on what you love and appreciate, if you deliberately seek out beauty, possibility, and positive potential, you're sending out a different kind of boomerang entirely. This one returns laden with experiences that match your positive focus. The mirror of the world is impartial. It simply reflects the content and quality of your relationship to it. Let's explore how this principle manifests in everyday life through some concrete examples. Consider someone who constantly criticizes their appearance. Every morning, they look in the physical mirror and immediately focus on what they perceive as flaws. Perhaps they think their nose is too big, their skin isn't clear enough, their body doesn't match some idealized image. These aren't just private thoughts that stay locked in their mind. These critical thoughts are boomerangs being launched into reality. What happens next follows a predictable pattern. Because they're so focused on their perceived flaws, they become hyper-aware of them throughout the day. They assume others notice these flaws too. Their self-consciousness affects their posture, their facial expressions, their entire demeanor. The world mirror reflects this back. They might encounter actual criticism from others, or they might simply interpret neutral interactions as confirmations of their negative self-image. They might find themselves in situations that reinforce their insecurities. The boomerang of self-criticism returns as experiences that seem to validate the original criticism. This same pattern applies to every area of life. In your work environment, if you habitually focus on what's wrong, the annoying coworkers, the unfair policies, the lack of recognition, you're sending out boomerangs that will return as more annoyances, more perceived unfairness, more reasons to feel unrecognized. Your attention to these negative aspects doesn't make them go away. It actually feeds them energy and ensures they remain prominent features of your experience. In relationships, the boomerang principle operates with particular clarity. If you approach your relationships with suspicion, always looking for signs of betrayal or disappointment, you're likely to find them. Not necessarily because your partner is actually betraying or disappointing you, but because your suspicious energy creates a dynamic that brings out the worst in both of you. Your partner might feel the weight of your distrust and respond defensively, which you then interpret as confirmation of your suspicions. The boomerang of distrust returns as relationship difficulties. Conversely, if you deliberately choose to see the best in your partner, to appreciate their positive qualities and trust their good intentions, you create a completely different dynamic. Your partner feels this positive regard and tends to rise to meet it. They're more likely to act in ways that deserve trust and appreciation. The boomerang of love and trust returns as a harmonious, supportive relationship. The principle extends beyond personal relationships to your relationship with life itself. If you habitually expect disappointment, if you've trained yourself to believe that good things don't happen to people like you, that life is fundamentally unfair, that you're destined to struggle, you're sending out powerful boomerangs that will return as experiences confirming these beliefs. You'll notice every disappointment while overlooking opportunities. You'll interpret neutral events pessimistically. You'll unconsciously make choices that lead to struggle. On the other hand, if you cultivate an expectation of good things, if you train yourself to believe that life supports you, that opportunities are abundant, that you're worthy of good experiences, you send out entirely different boomerangs. These return as lucky breaks, unexpected opportunities, and a general sense that life is working in your favor. It's not that challenges disappear entirely, but your relationship to them changes. And this changed relationship is reflected back in how these challenges ultimately affect your life. One of the most important insights about the boomerang principle is understanding why negative thoughts and emotions often seem to return with particular force. This happens because negative states tend to unite our heart and mind in a peculiarly powerful way. When you hate something, when you deeply resent a situation, when you're gripped by fear, in these moments, there's often no internal conflict. Your thoughts and feelings are aligned in a sharp, clear image of what you don't want. This alignment creates a strong, energetic charge. It's like throwing the boomerang with exceptional force. The mirror of reality, always faithful in its reflections, responds to this strong signal by manifesting more experiences that match its frequency. This is why people often find themselves stuck in negative cycles. Their strong negative focus creates more negative experiences, which reinforce the negative focus, which creates more negative experiences. This understanding reveals why it's so crucial to become aware of your habitual thoughts and emotional reactions. Most people go through life on autopilot, unconsciously throwing boomerangs in all directions without realizing they're doing it. They think their pessimistic thoughts are just realistic assessments. They believe their critical attitudes are just honest observations. They don't realize that these thoughts and attitudes are active forces shaping their reality. The world doesn't care whether your thoughts are positive or negative, it simply reflects them back. This impartiality can seem cruel when you're stuck in negative patterns, but it's actually the source of your power. It means you're not at the mercy of some capricious force that randomly decides whether to bless or curse you. The quality of your experience is directly related to the quality of your projections. The good news, and it really is extraordinarily good news, is that you can use the Boomerang Principle to your advantage. This isn't about forcing yourself to think positive thoughts or pretending everything is perfect when it clearly isn't. It's about making conscious choices about where to direct your attention and how to frame your experiences. The first step is to seek out the positive actively. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending challenges don't exist. It means training yourself to notice what's working alongside what isn't. In any situation, there are multiple aspects you could focus on. Your power lies in choosing which aspects deserve your attention and energy. For instance, if you're dealing with a difficult work situation, you could focus exclusively on what's frustrating and unfair. Or you could acknowledge these challenges while also noticing what skills you're developing, what lessons you're learning, what opportunities might be hidden within the difficulty. Both perspectives are true, but they send out very different boomerangs and create very different experiences. The practice of affirming what you want rather than complaining about what you don't want is another powerful way to work with the Boomerang Principle. Instead of saying, "I hate being broke," you might say, "I'm ready to receive abundance." Instead of, "Nobody appreciates me," you might say, "I'm grateful for the appreciation I receive and open to receiving more." These aren't just word games. They're fundamentally different energetic projections that return as fundamentally different experiences. Gratitude deserves special mention because it's perhaps the most powerful positive boomerang you can throw. When you express genuine gratitude, not forced or fake gratitude, but real appreciation for what you have, you're sending out a signal that says, "I recognize and value the good in my life." The mirror of reality responds by showing you more to be grateful for. It's a positive cycle that builds on itself. The more you appreciate what you have, the more you'll have to appreciate. Let's explore a practical exercise that can help you shift your boomerangs from negative to positive. First, think of an area in your life where you habitually focus on problems or dissatisfaction. Maybe it's your job, your living situation, your health, or a relationship. Be honest about where your attention typically goes when you think about this area. For the next week, make a conscious effort to find and affirm positive aspects of this area, even if they seem small or insignificant at first. If you hate your job, maybe you can appreciate that it provides income, or that you have one colleague who makes you laugh, or that you're learning patience. If you're unhappy with your health, maybe you can appreciate that your body is doing its best, that you're able to take steps toward improvement, that you have access to information and resources. Whenever you catch yourself complaining or criticizing, either out loud or in your thoughts, pause and deliberately choose a positive thought or affirmation instead. This isn't about suppression or denial. You're not pretending the negative aspects don't exist. You're simply choosing not to feed them with your attention and energy. You're choosing to throw different boomerangs. As you practice this, observe how your experience begins to shift. It might be subtle at first. Perhaps you notice one small positive thing you'd overlooked before, or you have one interaction that goes better than expected. These small shifts are the first returns of your new boomerangs. If you continue the practice, the shifts typically become more noticeable and more frequent. The boomerang principle operates with special intensity in the realm of relationships. Every interaction with another person involves an exchange of energetic boomerangs. The thoughts and feelings you bring to the interaction are projected onto the other person, and they respond not just to your words and actions, but to the energy behind them. If you approach others with suspicion, you're essentially telling them, "I expect you to disappoint me." Even if you don't voice this expectation, it comes through in subtle ways: your body language, your tone, the questions you ask, the interpretations you make. The other person feels this suspicious energy and often responds defensively or withdraws, which you then interpret as justification for your suspicion. Your boomerang of distrust returns as relational discord. If you approach the same person with warmth, respect, and genuine interest, you're sending out completely different signals. You're telling them, "I see your value, and I'm interested in connecting with you." They feel this positive regard and are more likely to respond openly and warmly. Your boomerang of goodwill returns as positive connection. What's particularly fascinating is that this principle works even with people who are generally considered difficult. When you meet someone's hostility with understanding, their criticism with appreciation for any valid points they might be making, their negativity with calm-centeredness, you often find that they soften. Not always, and not always immediately, but often enough to demonstrate the power of sending out positive boomerangs even in challenging situations. This doesn't mean you become a doormat or tolerate abusive behavior. Healthy boundaries are important, and sometimes the most positive boomerang you can send is one of self-respect that says, "I value myself too much to accept this treatment." The key is that even boundary setting can be done from a place of centered positivity rather than reactive negativity. The boomerang principle also helps explain why different people can have such vastly different experiences of the same objective circumstances. Two people might work at the same company, live in the same neighborhood, even be part of the same family, yet have completely different experiences. One person might find life constantly frustrating and disappointing, while the other finds it generally satisfying and full of opportunities. The difference isn't in their circumstances, it's in the boomerangs they're sending out. This understanding can be both liberating and challenging. It's liberating because it means you're not doomed to any particular experience based on your circumstances. No matter where you are or what situation you're in, you have the power to send out boomerangs that will return as improved experiences. It's challenging because it means taking responsibility for the quality of your experience rather than blaming external factors. As you work with the boomerang principle, you might notice some common pitfalls. One is expecting immediate results. While some boomerangs return quickly, others take time. If you've been sending out negative boomerangs for years, it might take consistent effort to shift the pattern. Reality has momentum, and changing direction requires patience and persistence. Another pitfall is trying to use the principle manipulatively, sending out positive thoughts solely to get something in return. The universe seems to distinguish between genuine positivity and calculated attempts at manipulation. Your boomerangs need to carry authentic energy to be effective. This is why forced positive thinking often backfires. The boomerang carries the energy of force and desperation rather than genuine positivity. It's also important to understand that working with the boomerang principle doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or difficulties. Life includes a full spectrum of experiences, and some challenges serve important purposes in our growth and development. The principle simply ensures that your habitual thoughts and emotions play a significant role in shaping your overall experience and in determining how you navigate whatever comes your way. The power of the boomerang principle becomes even clearer when you consider its cumulative effects. Every thought is a boomerang, and you're throwing thousands of them every day. Over time, these create patterns in your reality. If the majority of your boomerangs are negative, you'll find yourself living in an increasingly negative reality. If the majority are positive, you'll find yourself in an increasingly positive reality. The choice is always yours. This is why developing awareness of your thoughts and emotions is so crucial. Most of our boomerangs are thrown unconsciously, out of habit. We don't realize we're creating our reality thought by thought because we're not paying attention to our thoughts. Developing mindfulness, the ability to observe your thoughts and emotions without being completely identified with them, gives you the power to choose which boomerangs to throw. As you become more conscious of this process, you might find it helpful to think of yourself as an artist and reality as your canvas. Every thought is a brushstroke. Every emotion adds color. Over time, these individual strokes create the masterpiece, or the mess, that is your life experience. The Boomerang Principle ensures that whatever you paint on the canvas of consciousness will manifest in the gallery of your reality. The principle also reveals why gratitude practices are so powerful across virtually every spiritual and personal development tradition. When you express gratitude, you're sending out boomerangs tagged with appreciation and recognition of value. These return as more experiences worthy of gratitude. It's one of the most reliable positive cycles you can create. Similarly, the principle explains why forgiveness, both of others and yourself, is so transformative. When you hold resentment, you're continuously throwing boomerangs of negative energy toward whoever you resent. These boomerangs don't hurt the other person nearly as much as they hurt you when they return. Forgiveness stops this negative cycle and allows you to send out boomerangs of peace and release instead. The Boomerang Principle also sheds light on why certain practices like visualization and affirmation can be effective when done correctly. When you visualize your desired outcome with positive emotion, you're sending out a clear, strong boomerang. When you affirm what you want to experience, you're launching boomerangs programmed with those experiences. The key is that these practices must be done with genuine feeling and belief to be effective. As we near the end of our exploration, it's worth considering the profound implications of living with conscious awareness of the Boomerang Principle. When you truly understand that every thought and emotion you emit will return to you in some form, you naturally become more mindful of what you're sending out. You begin to take responsibility not just for your actions, but for your inner state. This responsibility isn't a burden, it's the source of your power. As long as you believe your experience is determined by external circumstances beyond your control, you remain a victim. When you recognize that your thoughts and emotions are creative forces that shape your reality, you reclaim your power as the author of your experience. The beauty of the Boomerang Principle is its perfect fairness. It doesn't favor anyone or discriminate against anyone. It operates the same for everyone, everywhere, all the time. Your current circumstances might be the result of past boomerangs, but your future circumstances will be determined by the boomerangs you throw from this moment forward. Every moment offers a fresh opportunity to send out boomerangs that will return as the experiences you desire. As you go forward from this episode, carry with you the image of yourself standing at the edge of that canyon, knowing that every call you send out will echo back. But unlike a simple echo that merely repeats your words, the echo of reality brings back experiences that match the energy of your call. Choose your calls wisely. Send out boomerangs of love, appreciation, and positive expectation. Trust in the perfect fairness of the universal mirror that ensures whatever you send out will return. Remember that you're not trying to trick reality or manipulate outcomes. You're simply aligning yourself with how reality actually works. The Boomerang Principle isn't something you need to make happen. It's already happening every moment of every day. Your only choice is whether to work with it consciously or remain subject to it unconsciously. In our next episode, we'll explore another fundamental principle of reality transurfing, the art of letting go, and why releasing control actually gives you more power. It might seem paradoxical that letting go increases your influence, but as you'll discover, it's perfectly aligned with how reality actually operates. Until then, remember that you are always holding boomerangs in your hands. Every thought, every emotion, every intention is a boomerang waiting to be thrown. You can't avoid throwing them. Even the decision not to throw is itself a kind of throw. Your power lies in choosing which boomerangs to release and trusting in the perfect law that ensures they will return. Choose the thoughts you send out wisely. Let your boomerangs be messengers of the reality you truly desire to experience. And when they return, as they always do, receive them with the understanding that they are perfect reflections of what you sent out, offering you continuous feedback about the quality of your projections and the opportunity to adjust course as needed. The world is your mirror, reality is your echo, and every boomerang you throw is an investment in your future experience. Make those investments wisely, and watch as your world transforms to reflect the beauty, abundance, and joy you've chosen to project into it.